Have you ever noticed that the most powerful people in the world speak very little? That billionaires rarely announce their plans? That true leaders let their actions speak for them? If you're watching this video, you're probably doing the opposite. You share your dreams with everyone, announce your projects on social media, and tell your plans to anyone who'll listen. And then you wonder, why the heck can't I get anywhere? Drop a comment. Are you the type who tells everyone everything, or have you already learned to keep things to yourself? Today, I'm going to tell you a story that will shock you. It's about a young man who discovered why he was failing at everything, and it wasn't a lack of talent or effort. It was something far more subtle and devastating. A discovery that changed not only his life, but could change yours too, if you have the courage to apply it. I'm warning you now. This story goes against everything you've been taught about networking, sharing, and transparency. But the results speak for themselves. So stick with me, because the next 35 minutes could be the turning point between staying stuck in mediocrity or finally breaking through. In the town of Pedra Azul, in the countryside of Minas Gerais, lived a young man named Rafael. He was 22, an administration student, full of dreams and grand plans. Rafael was known for one thing. He talked too much. It wasn't just idle chatter. Rafael genuinely had brilliant ideas. He wanted to start a tech startup. He had detailed plans for an e-commerce platform selling artisanal products. He dreamed of creating an online entrepreneurship course. His ideas were solid, well thought out, innovative. The problem was, Rafael couldn't keep quiet about any of it. At college, he was famous for his motivational speeches during class breaks. Guys, I'm going to launch an app that will revolutionize delivery in our region. Or, folks, I've found a golden opportunity in the natural cosmetics market. At home, it was no different. Every Sunday lunch turned into a mental PowerPoint presentation. Rafael would detail his future projects to his parents, uncles, cousins, even the family dog. On social media, it was a spectacle. Daily posts about mindset, stories announcing game-changing news coming soon, live streams talking about his upcoming launches. Rafael genuinely believed that constantly talking about his dreams kept him motivated, and let's be honest, he loved the attention he got. Wow, Rafael, that's a genius idea. Man, you're going places. When are you launching this? I'm excited to buy. Those compliments were like a drug to Rafael. They made him feel important, visionary, a successful entrepreneur, on paper. Comment if you've ever felt this way, addicted to the praise for your plans. Because here's the thing, after 2 years of talking, dreaming, and announcing, Rafael had achieved exactly nothing. 0 apps launched, 0 e-commerce stores live, 0 courses created, 0 revenue, 0 tangible achievements. Rafael was in the same place as 2 years ago, with one cruel difference. People were starting to lose faith in him. Oh, here comes Rafael with another wild idea, his college classmates would whisper. That guy just talks, he never does anything, some family members muttered behind his back. The worst part? Rafael himself began to notice he was losing excitement for his own dreams. The ideas that once got him out of bed in the morning now felt heavy, boring, uninspiring. What's happening to me? Rafael asked himself every night, staring at his bedroom ceiling. Why have I lost motivation for everything? It was during one of these existential crises that Rafael decided to visit his grandfather, Joaquim, who lived on a farm about 50 kilometers from town. His grandfather was always different, a man of few words but impressive results. He had built a rural empire from scratch, was respected throughout the region, yet rarely spoke about how he achieved it all. When Rafael arrived at the farm, he found his grandfather fixing a fence, working in silence, focused, present. Grandpa, I need to talk to you, Rafael said a bit awkwardly. His grandfather stopped working, looked him in the eyes and said simply, Sit here on this log. Tell me. And Rafael poured his heart out. All his dreams, all his frustrations, all the mental chaos he was going through. When he finished, he expected his grandfather to offer some motivational advice, a self-help quote, something to reignite his drive. But Grandpa Joaquim said something Rafael would never forget. Son, you want to know why your ideas never leave the paper? Because you kill them by talking about them too much. What do you mean, Grandpa? Sit up straight and I'll tell you a story. Pay attention, because this could change your entire life. His grandfather settled into his rocking chair and began. Many years ago, when I was younger than you are now, I met two men in our town. One was called Antonio the Talker, not his real name, but that's what everyone called him. The other was João the Silent. Antonio the Talker was just like you, full of ideas, always announcing his projects, giving speeches to anyone who'd listen. Every week he had a new plan to get rich. João the Silent was the opposite. He worked at a hardware store, lived a normal life, and almost never talked about his future plans. When someone asked what he wanted to do with his life, he'd just smile and say, "We'll see." Years went by. Antonio the Talker kept announcing grand projects that never materialized. Everyone knew the drill. Lots of talk, zero execution. João the Silent, meanwhile, quietly saved money, bought small plots of land, invested in local businesses, studied the market in silence. 10 years later, guess what happened? Antonio the Talker was still living the same life, but now no one took his ideas seriously. He became the town joke. João the Silent became the richest man in the region, owner of multiple businesses, several properties, respected by all. And the most incredible part, almost no one saw it coming. Rafael was captivated. But Grandpa, what was João's secret? The secret, son, is that he understood something few people do. Energy is limited. Every bit of energy you spend talking about your plans is energy you're not using to execute them. Comment if you're starting to see where I'm going with this. His grandfather continued. Plus, when you talk too much about your dreams, 3 terrible things happen. First, your brain starts confusing talking about the dream with achieving it. You get a false sense of satisfaction just from sharing your plans. That false satisfaction reduces your real motivation to act. Second, not everyone wants you to succeed, Rafael. Some will discourage you consciously. Others will do it unconsciously, out of envy or fear that you'll achieve something they couldn't. Third, when you share your plans, you publicly commit to them. That creates enormous psychological pressure. And when the pressure's too high, your brain's natural tendency is to procrastinate or give up. Rafael felt like he'd been punched in the gut. It all made sense. Everything. But Grandpa, does that mean I should stay completely silent about my goals? It's not about staying mute, son. It's about being strategic. There's a huge difference between sharing intelligently and broadcasting your plans to anyone who'll listen. And then his grandfather taught Rafael my 5 principles of strategic silence. Principle 1, work in the dark, shine in the light. Do all the heavy lifting out of sight, only show up when you have concrete results to share. It's better to surprise with achievements than disappoint with promises. Principle 2, choose carefully who you talk to. If you need to discuss your plans, do it only with people who can actually help you. Mentors, potential partners, industry experts, never with just anyone who'll listen. Principle 3, talk about processes, not future outcomes. Instead of saying, I'm going to make $1 million next, so, year. Say I'm studying investment strategies. Instead of, I'm going to launch a revolutionary product, say, I'm researching the market. Focus on the present, not the future. Principle 4, replace words with actions. Every time you feel the urge to talk about a project, turn that urge into concrete action. Want to post about your future business? Go research suppliers. Want to share your idea? Build a prototype. Principle 5, let your results speak for you. The greatest power is when people discover your success on their own, when you don't need to announce anything because your results are too obvious to ignore. Rafael absorbed every word like it was gold. Grandpa, but how do I control this urge to talk? It's so strong. That's the most important part of the story, his grandfather said with a mysterious smile. It has to do with something psychologists call satisfaction substitution. What's that? Let me explain simply. When you talk about your plans, your brain releases dopamine, the same pleasure chemical released when you actually achieve something. It's like your brain gets tricked into thinking you've made progress just by talking about it. That's why after talking so much about a project, you lose motivation to execute it. Your brain already got the chemical reward it was expecting. Rafael's jaw dropped. Wow, Grandpa, that explains everything. That's exactly what happens to me. So the solution is simple. You need to train your brain to seek dopamine from execution, not conversation. How? By celebrating small, real achievements and completely ignoring the temptation to talk about future plans. Comment if you're having the same insights Rafael did. That night, Rafael slept at his grandfather's farm, and for the first time in years, he woke up with a different feeling. It wasn't that anxious need to tell everyone what I'm going to do. It was a quiet, focused, determined energy. He returned to town with a mission: apply the 5 principles of EIG, strategic silence. In real life, the first thing Rafael did was a digital cleanup. He deleted all his social media posts about future plans. He stopped sharing stories about projects that hadn't even left the drawing board. At college, when friends asked about his entrepreneurial projects, Rafael simply said, "I'm focused on learning and executing. When I have something solid, you'll know." At home, he stopped with the motivational speeches at Sunday lunches. When his family asked about his plans, he smiled and changed the subject. And guess what happened in the first few days of this change? Rafael had withdrawal symptoms. Yes, you read that right. He felt a physical, almost painful need to talk about his projects. It was like quitting smoking. The urge was intense, almost irresistible. But every time he felt that urge, he remembered his grandfather's words and turned the desire to talk into concrete action. Wanted to tell his friends about his app idea? He'd study programming for an hour. Wanted to post about entrepreneurship? He'd research the market he wanted to target. Wanted to give a motivational speech? He'd work on his business plan, and something incredible started to happen. In 2 weeks, Rafael made more real progress than in the previous 2 years of just talking. It wasn't magic. It was simply redirecting energy. All the energy wasted on talking was now being channeled into execution. But the real test came when Rafael started seeing visible results. 3 months after his conversation with his grandfather, Rafael quietly launched the first version of his delivery app. He didn't announce it on social media. He didn't throw a party. He didn't even tell his closest friends. He just put it live and started testing it with a few local businesses. The app worked. The first customers were satisfied. Orders started to grow. Then something Rafael didn't expect happened. People started finding out on their own. "Dude, you made this delivery app?" a college classmate asked. Rafael just smiled and said, "I'm working on it." "Man, that's awesome. Why didn't you ever talk about it?" "I preferred to show it by doing." The news spread like wildfire. But it wasn't Rafael talking about his plans anymore. It was other people discovering his results. Comment if you're seeing the devastating difference between these two approaches. In 6 months, Rafael's app was operating in 3 cities in the region. In a year, he had a small team and was earning 5 figures a month. But the most impressive transformation wasn't financial. It was psychological. Rafael had become a completely different person. More confident, more focused, more respected. People stopped seeing him as the guy who just talks and started seeing him as the guy who gets things done. His parents, who used to listen to his entrepreneurial speeches with blank faces, now sought his advice on investments. His college classmates, who once mocked his ideas, now wanted to partner with him on future projects. His professors started citing him as an example of practical entrepreneurship. And all this happened because Rafael learned the devastating power of strategic silence. 2 years later, Rafael returned to the farm to visit his grandfather. This time, he wasn't a frustrated young man seeking advice. He was a successful entrepreneur wanting to say thank you. "Grandpa, That conversation changed my life. I don't know how to thank you." His grandfather smiled and said, "No need to thank me, son. You just discovered something successful people have always known. Actions speak louder than words, and silence generates more power than speeches." "But tell me, Grandpa, how did you learn this?" His grandfather laughed. "I made all the same mistakes you did, Rafael. Back in my day, I was the Antonio the Talker from the story I told you. Joan the Silent was my role model, not someone I knew. It took me years to learn this the hard way." "Seriously? You never told me that." "Because some lessons only have value when you discover them on your own. If I had scolded you for talking too much, you wouldn't have learned. You needed to reach the conclusion yourself." Rafael was amazed by his grandfather's wisdom, and there he understood another precious lesson. True mentors don't give ready-made answers. They ask the right questions and create the conditions for you to find the answers. But the conversation didn't end there. His grandfather had more to teach. "Rafael, now that you understand the power of silence, you need to learn when and how to break that silence strategically." "What do you mean?" "Look, staying 100% silent isn't the answer either. The secret is to be surgical. Speak little, but speak well. Speak at the right time, to the right people, about the right things." And then his grandfather taught him the 3 strategic moments to break the silence. Moment 1, when you need specific help. If you need a partner, investor, or mentor, you'll obviously have to talk about your projects, but do it professionally, with data, partial results, a structured plan. It's not bar talk, it's a business presentation. Moment 2, when you already have results to show. After you've proven you can execute, then you can talk about future projects, because now you have credibility. Your words carry weight because they're backed by real achievements. Moment 3, when you want to inspire someone going through the same struggle you did. Like what you're doing with me now, sharing your experience to help others. That's not ego, it's contribution. Rafael absorbed every word, and he realized he was already naturally applying these lessons. He no longer talked about future projects, but when someone asked for entrepreneurial advice, he shared his experience genuinely and helpfully. Comment if you're seeing how this is different from announcing plans that don't even exist yet. In the years that followed, Rafael built a small empire of digital businesses, a delivery app, an e-commerce platform for local products, an online course on digital entrepreneurship for small towns. But most importantly, he became a reference in his region as the guy who gets things done without fanfare. Experienced. Entrepreneurs sought him for partnerships. Young entrepreneurs asked for mentorship. Universities invited him to give lectures. And in every lecture, Rafael always shared the story of his grandfather and the 5 principles of strategic silence. Because he had discovered something powerful, when you stop wasting energy talking and start channeling it all into execution, you don't just get better results, you become a completely different person. More focused, more trustworthy, more respected, more prosperous. Rafael proved that true power doesn't come from shouting your dreams to the world. It comes from working in silence until your results make the noise. Now let me ask you a direct question. Where are you wasting energy talking instead of doing? How many projects have you announced that never left the drawing board? How many times have you felt that false satisfaction from sharing your plans only to lose the motivation to execute them? How many people have stopped taking you seriously because you talk too much and do too little? Comment below, honestly. Are you more like the Rafael from the start of the story or the Rafael from the end? Because here's a hard truth. If you're the type who tells everyone your plans, you're unconsciously sabotaging your own success. It's not malice. It's not a lack of talent. It's just a destructive habit you've learned without realizing. The good news is, like Rafael, you can change that starting today. But it takes discipline. You need to resist the temptation to turn your projects into bar talk. You need to channel all the energy you spend talking into real execution. And when you do, when you truly apply the Mao 5 principles of strategic silence to your life, you'll be shocked at how fast the results come. Because the energy you waste talking about dreams is enough to achieve dreams. The attention you spend seeking validation for your plans is enough to execute plans. The time you lose announcing future projects is enough to build real projects. So here's the reflection. Do you want to keep being known as the person with big plans, or do you want to be known as the person with big results? The choice is yours. But remember, the world doesn't need to know your plans. The world just needs to see your achievements. Work in the dark, shine in the light, let your results speak for you. That's the devastating power of strategic silence. If this story touched you, if you recognize patterns from your own life, comment with the biggest insight you got. And if you know someone who needs to hear this, someone who keeps announcing plans they never execute, share this video. Because sometimes a story like this is exactly what someone needs to stop talking and start achieving. And remember, your dreams deserve to be realized, not just talked about. So stop talking about them and start building them. See you in the next video with more stories that could transform your life forever.